Against the backdrop of inflationary pressures characterized by rising food prices and declining purchasing power, the hike in electricity tariff has raised concerns among Nigerians who believe this will further compound the economic challenges facing the country. According to some experts' opinion, the interplay between the hike in electricity prices and inflationary pressure has far-reaching implications not only for individual households and businesses, but also for broader macroeconomic environment. Let's put some perspective to some of these contending issues. And I'm being joined live from the United Kingdom, our Chief Executive Officer and founder of BudgIT, Mr. Oluseun Onigbinde. It's great to have you start the week with us. Mr. Onigbinde, thank you for your time.
It's a whole pleasure, Tolu. It's a pleasure being on this program today. Thank you so much.
Well, I like to start this way. A lot of reforms by the federal government, which is obviously having impact on the masses, and a lot of comments from here and there. The most recent is the hike in electricity tariff, which now is about 300% higher than what we used to have before now. My question really would be, do you think plans are really on ground to cushion the effect of the negative impact of some of these policies of government at this strategic time?
I don't think so, that their plans are in here. The fundamental plan should have been the increase in the minimum wage. And we know that fuel price have been increased for around 10 months now. The federal government has had enough time to sit down with the Nigerian Labour Congress and other key stakeholders to decide on what the new minimum wage should look like. And that has not been done. And so we've had this award system, which is sometimes sounds very new to me, a wage award system. Sounds like some form of socialism, in a way. I mean, someone who's earning 400,000, you pay the person 435,000. Someone who's earning 50,000, you pay the person 85,000. You just equalize benefit in that without graduating them. I don't think that is in the right mindset, because that's not what it used to be. So the acceleration of the minimum wage, that should have happened, immediately the fuel prices were increased. All of that has not happened as it should be. Then we also now have other policies that have now taken shape, such as the intention to liberalize the FX market, or to reduce parity between the parallel market and the official market in quote. That is also has had an effect. We have seen escalating inflation, even though I think in recent times we've seen a little retreat in the prices. It has not gone back to where it was before, but what has been is a backward shift in the prices. So I think in a way that has also not been addressed. We've had palliative here and there. We've had agricultural grains being reduced and just being given out to people, but nothing holistic has been created, which should have started from the exchange, from the minimum wage discussion. And now we now have the electricity tariff, and I think, it doesn't affect a whole lot of Nigerians. In fact, I also found out today that I'm within the band B, so I figured out that there are very few Nigerians who are in the band A. But I still have challenges with that in some sort of way. Honestly, the exchange rate devaluation has affected the subsidy, electricity subsidy that has been given out over the last few months. So it's not just because Nigeria started consuming more electricity or because gas prices went much more higher. It's because the devaluation of the currency. Let's not forget that gas is priced also in dollars. So if a lot of subsidy that is going to the producers of gas and the Gencos is just because of the Nigerian government now has to pay much more money to this organization or to these institutions. So, and now would you now put that burden up? You put that burden up on average Nigerians in some way. I don't think that this is the silver bullet to the institution. I understand what the government is trying to do is that we are open to liberalizing this market so that we can find investments can come in, especially in the gas gathering and the gas transportation component of this work. But I don't think that is a sufficient framework for that to happen. There are a lot more things that the government can do to make sure that those things get to happen at the end of the day.
A beautiful way to start, and leading me to my next question, which is attracting foreign investors, which remains on the front burner of President Bola Tinubu. Some say these reforms are necessary to help bring in these guys and let them bring in the FPIs, the FDIs. They want to repatriate their funds. They want an open market. They want to be sure that they can get their monies back. Where you put your money, you want profit and, of course, your money. So do you think that some of these reforms would help attract the needed investment in Nigeria?
Yeah, thanks so much. And it depends on the kind of investment we are looking for. If we are looking for foreign portfolio investment, I think we are doing enough to attract foreign portfolio investment. We put rate at 21%. The CBN is open to entering into some carry contracts with some of these institutions. So it's very clear that CBN is open to say we need the FPIs. I also need to rein on loose monetary environment. So it's issued instruments at the very, very high rate around 21, 22%, to be able to mop up cash or mop up funds within the economy. I think that is enough attraction. It's just that we are the global macroeconomic environment is not in the right place right now. As we know, there's been a lot of interest to the Fed rate as not helping any country, as not helping any environment, because a lot of people have found it more attractive to invest their money right there in the United States. We also know that a whole of uncertainty between Russia and China and Ukraine, between what is happening in the Middle East, between China and the US, have also restrained the flow of global capital, global investment flow. So we'll get a little bit. We'll get, like we have been getting. Some has been recorded in recent years, recent months. We will get, but I don't think we should expect like a gush of it. We should not expect that investment that would happen. The sticky FDIs, which takes much more time to come in and marinate. I mean, that's the one that we would have to do much more than what we are doing, because we have to create the growth verticals. Where exactly do you want to put money in? We know that we have opportunities in agriculture. Yes. We know we have opportunities in solid minerals. Yes. We have opportunities in energy, either in renewable energy or within with the gas framework or the gas value chain. So we should be able to pitch this into prospective investors and get them to bring money in, and also be able to now set a new code in terms of ability to repatriate their earnings and their benefits and their profits and all of that. If we don't set those criteria strongly, we will not even be able to profit whatever little is available in the global investment field currently. So I think what we are doing right now is going to accelerate FPIs, which is already happening. But I think what should be much more clear from the CBN angle is that we can't do this all alone. We can't be clapping in one hand. We need the fiscal side to join in, which is the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Trade and Investment. We need them to bring their own initiatives to board. And we also need some political will from the president himself. And all of that is what can accelerate the FDI that we talk about. Because what we have right now will grow an FPI. And then we also know that most of this intervention comes at a cost. Because whatever loans or whatever instrument or securities are being issued by the CBN at this point, it's at a price point. It's at a rate. So definitely the CBN will pay for those rates when the time is due. So some sort of way, unless the federal government also wants to borrow, would also borrow at those rates. That would have significant influence on debt servicing and fiscal deficit along the way. So it's something that the CBN knows that whatever it's doing right now is a short-term option. It cannot be something that can be sustained. If there's any global macroeconomic shake-up in the next few months, the FPIs that you think you have would leave. They would take their bags and walk away. And you're left hanging to be able to meet their obligations, maybe not even in an orderly manner, maybe at once. So in some sort of way, it's very important for the CBN also to understand that there are cheaper options to be able to stimulate, the environment. And One of the cheapest options is just to sell more food. We need to optimize our food production, and we need to also incentivize non-oil export growth. If you're able to do all those two things, I think we'll be in a much more steady position to be able to either defend the currency or even have some level of monetary stability.
Now let's drift towards the youth now, and we know that this government has talked about being focused on empowering the youth, and one of this the way to do this is the student loan, which we've been talking about. It's become law. I think President put pen to paper. Well, my question really to you is: do you think this will make the expected impact and help reduce, in quotes, out of school children not being able to go to school? Do you think this will encourage more of them to take advantage of the student loan?
Yeah, I mean, the student loan program is great. And I think, even though I feel like it should be much, much more, I feel like those amounts are still relatively too small. But it's a good start, and it's a good plan. But, we apply approaches, in an ad hoc way when we should do things in a more holistic manner, in a more comprehensive manner. The issues that ail our education system is beyond student loan. If we want to give autonomy to the universities, let's be honest about that. If we want to also look at the quality of teaching and how quality of infrastructure in there, let's be honest about that and see that we're doing the right things, because it takes the quality of learning and also the productivity from the students. I mean, from when they become graduates. What does that look like? So that people are able to pay back some of these loans. Because if people don't see an opportunity to leave university and be able to earn well and be able to now, be able to pay back some of this money, they might not be willing to take it. So it's something that we have to be much more clear about. That why are we giving this student loan? Are we raising the price for education or the tuition at the institutional level? And if we're increasing those tuition, what value are the students getting, and what opportunities exist in the economy to be able to absorb them so that they can pay back some of those loans? Most of the environments that we are trying to copy, like in the US and in the UK, where there are student loans available, there is a framework for them to pay back. There is an opportunity, economic opportunity for prospect for them. There are a lot of tax rebates and discounts that are given to organizations for fresh graduate hires that a whole lot of companies latch upon to be able to to do all of these things, to be able to give people at least the ground level experience so they can build upon. So it's something that there has to be some holistic approach into all of these things. Nigeria is in a state where a lot of things have to run at once. If we give student loan and we do not fix the quality of education we receive, and we do not ensure that the infrastructure and also the productivity level for the graduates is assured to some extent, we know that some of this might just not work as it should work. But I commend the effort. I just feel like the issues are bigger than the student loan at this moment.
Now, almost finally, interest rates have been increased back to back. You talked about that in your earlier submission, talking about the handshake between the monetary side, of course, and the fiscal side, which everybody has identified as the way to go. But this increase in rates, do you think it can rein in on inflation, considering our peculiarity as a country? And what also is the implication for lending from banks, so that Nigerians can really understand what 24.75% means when you as MPR rate when you want to borrow?
I mean, it's a bit challenging because, MPR of 24.75% is very high. And that puts prime lending rates above 30%, 32%. By the time you adjust for administrative transaction costs, you might go as high as 35%. It's a dangerous terrain to be. It's not the best of times to be an entrepreneur, just because CBN is saying there's a risk-free rate of 24.75%. There's a flaw. It's worrisome, and I think it's the challenge with economics. You can't eat your cake and have it, which means that definitely you would. And you can't blame this government solely for it, but you can blame them that when the previous government was embarking on a loose fiscal and monetary supply into the economy, Nobody, a lot of NGOs, non-profit like us, we spoke against it. When the deficit was widening beyond measure, we spoke against it. But we didn't get enough support from political actors, most of who are the beneficiaries of that system. We didn't get any support. Now we have to walk back all of those funds. We have to take those monies out of the economy and so that we can rein in on inflation. Number one, I don't think that's the silver bullet to inflation, but I think the CBN is doing what it can within its own powers. It's raised interest rates. It's trying to find stability in the exchange rate market. So whatever to the CBN can apply, in terms of stabilizing the environment, they are doing that. It's a fiscal side that also needs to step up. And stepping up starts from the budget. If there are different items in the budget that would expand our deficit and that have no meaning and have no value or no use to the citizens, this is the time to embark on a very rigorous fiscal efficiency program. Projects that are really important, that are really necessary to improve the lives of citizens. That's what should be funded, not things that only speak to political objective or political use of citizens. So this is the time for the fiscal side to step up because the monetary side is doing what it can. But by the time we start releasing allocations for contractors and we start expending more from the fiscal side and we start raising more money and we start lose money starts coming from the angle, what you see is that some of this effort by the CBN comes into futility or comes into nullity. So CBN cannot fight inflation alone. It could only do its own part, which I think they are doing. I think there were some challenges in the beginning, but right now I think things are beginning to shape up from that angle in some sort of way. And they made it clear that they will not lose development finance. I think it's something that is highly well welcome. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be helpful to the private entrepreneurs who are trying to borrow in this market. This is why also, some concessionary development finance is actually necessary for the SMEs as much as possible. And if the CBN and the banks are going to go all over it again and ensure that it is run through a much more structured framework, I think they should go ahead and do that because at 30 to 35%, you are not going to stimulate the small scale business environment in that way. Maybe it's time for the CBN to step up and work with the fiscal side and work with the banking industry to find some concessionary loans for the small business environment.
Interesting conversation. In 1 minute, before I let you go, I'd just like you to give your outlook, an overview, despite all of these challenges. I know that could take some time, but let's just be punchy about it.
If we take a look at the government so far, it's been, there's been challenges. But number one, you have to respect their courage to want to try. So that is something I take in. Number two, I think a lot of thought, a lot of scenario planning did not go to some of the decisions that were being made. One thing is like, for example, the removal of the fuel subsidy. Some of the decisions should have been accompanied with some framework to ameliorate the crisis. There are social costs to some of these decisions. And I don't think the government have thought through those social implications of the problem. It moves fuel subsidy. You are flirting with inflation. And I think that came in a very sporadic way. So definitely the government has still not addressed, has not addressed mass transit programs, has still not addressed the minimum wage framework, has still not addressed food inflation as it should be. So it's something that a lot of decisions are taken without properly analyzing social costs. That also even comes with the CBN. They wanted to run an open-ended float. They tried it, they see that it's not going to work. Now we're now in a situation where we understand that retail environment needs a bit of liquidity. I'm not a fan of BDCs, but I've figured out that they are permanent or somehow a feature in our exchange rate framework. So CBN is providing some liquidity to them because I don't think the parallel market is that deep. It's not a huge market. I think it's a market that sets a lot of perception for the environment. So if the CBN is doing what it's doing now with the intervention through the PDCs, I think in some sort of way they will achieve some of those convergence that they need at the end of it. But like I said, that you're increasing rates Either you're mopping up money from the economy, either you're trying to attract FPIs, either you're telling banks to also recapitalize, which is also a way for them to attract FPIs and bring investment to the country and also mop up money into the environment. All of that kind of work, we should also think heavily about the social cost of those decisions. That's why I feel all of that is changing the lending environment beyond what an entrepreneur can afford. The CBN also has to be honest and to be humane to find solutions around that. And I think the CBN has been clear that they won't do that by themselves. The federal government also should come forward and do these things by itself, because the CBN in the last government was like all things to everything. Now they want to be more focused on their role, which is about price stability. That's the primary role of the Nigerian, the Central Bank of Nigeria, price stability. And I think if they continue in this framework, they're doing well, but the fiscal side needs to also step up well.
Interesting, Mr. Oluseun Onigbinde, co-founder, CEO of BudgIT. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today. We appreciate this. Do enjoy the rest of your day and your week.
And you have a wonderful one too. Thank you.
Yeah. All right then.